So, if I asked you, who is the one suffering, what would be your response? Who is the one listening to this video? Who is the one thinking? And whose life is this? Most of you may have responded with the same answer for all of those questions. What was your response? Did you say me, or did you say your name as if you were talking in third person? So if you claim to have all of these things, what if that you didn't exist? Would any of these problems actually be a problem anymore? If the one who claims to have anxiety actually doesn't exist, well, who's now here to claim having anxiety? Who would be the one suffering from anxiety? If the one who claims that they are fearful doesn't exist, well, who is here to be afraid? You see, the only reason so many of us suffer is because we believe we are something we are not. We actually believe we are something that doesn't actually exist. And that is a person. You are not a person. The person is a created character of the mind that truly doesn't exist in reality. It's a part of the conceptual illusions of the mind. Notice that it's conceptual. The me who you believe yourself to be doesn't exist when the mind is silent. When you are fully present, there is no identification with anything. Investigate on your own and really see if you can find this me anywhere in your experience. You're not behind the eyes, that's just a sensation, and you are not a sensation. You are not an appearance, meaning you aren't that image of your face that may be here in this moment. That's also just a thought. But you have to see that, recognize you can't see a face in your direct experience. Really look without thinking and see if you can find who you think you are. See if you can find the thinker. See if you can find the seer. See if you can find the one who suffers. And I know you can't, because whatever rises that claims to be something is just a thought. Now, how is this the only problem? You have, well, only the person and appear to have problems. Everything in your so-called life that you claim to have a problem with can only be claimed by a person. If you struggle with holding on to the past, well, without the illusion of being this separate person, whose past is it? And who's the one holding on to something? Whatever you appear to struggle with, who is the one struggling if the person doesn't exist? You see, believing you are a person causes the illusion of separation also, and even though it's an illusion, and there's actually no such thing as separation, there is this experience of separation that can be experienced, and more than half of the world lives their day to day in this illusion. Believing you are these characters creates a duality. It makes you believe that there is a you experiencing life, when in fact there is no you experiencing anything, because you aren't separate from life. You are literally life itself. Life is experiencing itself. There is no separate experiencer. You have to understand that fooling the entire world into believing they are divided and separate allows whoever's in control to have power. The way religion has been taught to us. It's done a great job at making sure it separates us. Such a great job that people believe they are separate from God. They believe they are this person praying to a God. And religion does a great job at keeping you away from knowing that you are God, that we are God as one. And religion does have great pointers and truth in it. It's just that it was taught to us in a way to keep us separated from the truth. Political things keep us separated. Race keeps us separated. The list goes on and on and on. Even dividing the countries keeps us separated, even though we are all under the same sun, on the same earth. But if you actually look at it, it's all just labels and ideas that humans have created and have pointless meanings to. Without these labels and ideas, the only thing left is truth. Meaning without the mind, be curious of what's here without it. That's what's real. But most importantly, believing you are this person keeps you in the illusion of separation, and feeling separated never feels good. That also appears to cause a lot of issues, such as depression and loneliness. Nobody wants to feel separate. We literally do things just so that we can feel connected to something. Our true desire is to be one with everything. And good news, you already are. You just haven't noticed it yet. Drugs are used to feel connected. Drugs can completely put the ego to sleep for a while, allowing you to feel connected to something. It frees you from the mind and away. Alcohol does the same thing. You can be someone who suffers from anxiety, but the moment you consume alcohol, you're the life of the party. It's because you are escaping yourself. You are escaping the false self, the one who claims to have the anxiety. That person is gone. But you don't need drinks and drugs to feel that way. That is your natural state of being. I'll use another analogy that I heard Jim Carrey use. Hopefully this helps you realize that who you think you are actually doesn't exist, and it was just created over time. So he talked about actors. Actors get a role, and they have to take on a completely new personality. They have to get in character. They go into work, they embody this character, and then as soon as the director says cut, they go right back into playing the character they have been playing their whole lives. So if you can play different characters, what does that say about your own? How is your character real? Do you see what I am pointing to? But then the question is, well, what am I? And regardless of what label you give it, we can't know it. Call is God, call it presence or consciousness. The labels are pointless. You have no identity. What you are cannot identify as something, because what you are is not a thing. You are no thing. That's like saying, I am space. Well, that's just a label given to something that you can't see, you can't imagine it, you can't create it, but it is here. It's as if it doesn't actually exist, because space is ultimately nothing. But you can be it, and whatever we are already and have always been that. So don't fall into the trap of identifying with something. When it comes to self-realization, I can say it's really about getting rid of all identity. When you have no identity at all, you realize you are everything. But this everything that we are is actually nothing at the same time. It's very difficult to talk about. Language literally cannot explain it. And that's a good thing because this isn't for the mind to understand anyways. And knowing that you're nothing is actually really, really freeing. It may sound scary to the mind, but that's just because it knows that's the death of itself and it doesn't want to go. I see a lot of people who are actually concerned about awakening, thinking they won't be able to function in society or have friends and family, or that their life will be ruined. See, that is also just a defense mechanism of the ego that is preventing a surrendering to happen, and see the innocence in that also. Because, in a way, the ego is always trying to protect you from something. It's just that it protects you from things that don't actually exist or things you don't need protection for, causing the person it has created to appear to suffer. But it's all an illusion, and you have the capacity to see through it right now.